Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of your Daily Dose Whale Edition. For those that are triggered by people spending money on games, this video is not for you, but for everyone else, sit back, relax, and enjoy because I've decided, as we've done this Discord special, when you notice people maybe going a little bit too hard on the wrong events, sometimes it's good to correct the community, even though it could potentially be harmful for your account. I think we're going to do that anyway for the betterment of the community. So when you start this game, and as you can see, we're only level 63. We're only VIP 8, so I am pretty conservative in what I choose to spend. Now, of course, remember, if you do spend, have a budget, stick to the budget because there's always going to be another event. There's always going to be another God's blessing, and you just have to remember that. But the game really doesn't explain that to you early on because these God's blessings don't appear. They appear sporadically as you level up your account and unlock new features. However, they do not appear when you do your daily blitzing. And that's actually how you proc them in general. Every day you can get them by simply going in, doing one blitz. Doesn't really matter what it is. You can just do a 1 times, a continuous blitz, a 10 times blitz. But basically, after doing this little feature, you will get God's blessing. However, like I said, it won't become available until you start to actually get into the game. Probably around day 10. Arms Race was the very first event where it allowed us to get God's blessing frequently, which was very surprising. We didn't even get that for Celebrate Festival. I believe we got it for one day. I could be wrong, but honestly, we kind of got the tail end of some very bad events, which is probably why when you have a look at some of the whales, they kind of went the wrong direction. Now, when I say the whales, these guys have the ones that we have currently have corrected themselves. Some of the other ones were a little bit premature, and others just got really, really lucky. So Zero was a bit premature when he orbed for his basically, I guess, legendary scrolls. DRT was a little bit out there as well, although they did get themselves a mythic. This guy here lucked out really early in the beginning and managed to get like 4 full copies of Lubu. So, I mean, luck and whaling kind of go hand in hand. And of course, our friend Lei is firstly new to the game, but thankfully he's in our legion so we can kind of help him out in where to strategize next. But his account is looking pretty good. He went with a 3-star Jiang Wei, a very cool choice. And as you can see, he's pretty much 7-starred most of his legendaries already, which once you get those out of the way, it makes sense. But for those that are thinking about whaling and limited time heroes events, don't do it. Don't do it for early gains because in the end, mythics are going to outtake those characters every single day of the week. Point in fact, our friend over here, Shade, he had 3. So he waited for the Celebrate Festival to get himself a Budding UG, which is the Gen 3. They are not available for this account outside of the Celebrate Festival. So he did a strategic thing and went for that one instead. As you can see, he still whales, but he did focus on Dank Stash. I was going to say Dank Stash. Dank Stash. And of course, Lubu up there to 7-star and Lu Ling Kui. So there are a couple of methods behind when you should whale. And of course, that means Arms Race is the pinnacle. It's the cream of the crop. For anyone that knows anything about spending, even if you are a light spender, I would recommend focusing on Arms Race as your go-to. The reason being is you can pretty much pick up all of the items that you want. Now, I always strongly recommend focusing on wings, and that's something that I will do with the selection chests. But as a whale, you will have a lot more freedom to choose other merits as well. For instance, I went ahead and bought out Heaven's Sword, and we got Jiang Wei's copies. We got 40 additional shards as well, in anticipating I don't think I'll be building you. I think I'm going to be building Zhuge Gao. I'm not going to do a Fox on this account. We're definitely going with Zhuge Gao. Although it would be pretty spicy with old mate Xiao Ji getting that CC out for the Shu Nation. But no, I think we will skip that. And of course, there's going to be some temptation to grab some shards. There's going to be temptation to finish off some of your legendary heroes. As a whale, you have a little bit more freedom, but I would recommend only focusing on mythic heroes, mythic weapons, and of course, your feathers. Now, if you happen to have enough to build these, and again, it's probably not even possible because we don't have Generation 3, but in all honesty, if you were going to buy a mythic charm, I probably would recommend not doing it. Maybe these Gen 2s are worth it to begin very early on, but the reality is you don't necessarily need to do that. Stick with your legendary charms that you've already got from doing your week 1 push. So for me, I believe I have just an earthquake charm sitting here waiting for old mate Lu Soon. I probably will get him eventually. I'm not really focused heavily on him just because he's available in this shop here. Now, the temptation for me to continue to buy out these indexes is very, very valid. I may just do so instead of just keeping and getting these ones. But stamina pills, I'm so tempted for the stamina pills. Even as a whale, you have to show restraint as well. But what I would recommend though is for all players, make sure you're not sleeping on getting your index scores. They scale based on percent based, and you will need to spend some wishing coins. So you need to budget it in, but the reality is it isn't a bad investment early game. It will give you a couple of 100 million by the end of it. So definitely worthwhile getting. But back to the arms race. So arms race, for those that are new and visiting the channel, is pretty much a legion based event. As you accumulate enough of the troops, they go towards an entire legion contribution. Old mate, you were correct. You were correct, Denial. There is a butterfly feather at 9, rank 9. I don't think even with the aggressive play of all of us, we probably won't be able to get our level up to 9. Unfortunately, it would take, I think, about, I want to say, maybe 5 more players would have to get to 2,000 points. Yeah, I don't see that happening. There really isn't much of an ore there. It is very, very hard to get 16.5k troops if you aren't on a huge Megalodon server. And we are only on just a mini baby whale server, so it's okay. It is what it is, but the reality is if you're playing this as a whale and a free-to-play, there are a couple of things you should never, ever pass up. And that is, of course, the gold flags. Now, you do have the luxury of spending 8k gold for 40 of these selection chests. I would only recommend doing so if you are going to make some advancements on the account, i.e. getting something up a couple of star levels. It is certainly worthwhile spending some gold early on to do so. It falls off in value comparison late game, like it's really just another waste of gold. Realistically, you'll be focusing on these ones eventually, but it's a little bit premature at level 62 to be focusing on that. Pretty much, this is the biggest conundrum. When you're early game, you really don't know what to spend on because the reality is you haven't unlocked a lot of the features. So it can be tempting just to waste these tokens. My advice is don't waste them if you really don't have a need or a purpose to buy stuff. Just keep them chilling in the bag. Ultimately speaking, Ascension Stones are going to come before Mythicized Stones, so you could invest a little bit in Ascension Stones. You're going to need a bucket load of them anyway. The reality is you probably don't need your advanced scrolls at this stage. You really don't need Star Karma picks. It's very iffy. It's very iffy. Safe bet, Ultimate Beast Pills, of course. Ascension Stones are way off. That's 120 level. You could start to get a couple of these crystals, but the reality is you're probably going to be farming them anyway. So realistically speaking, I would be comfortable with spending all of my bronze pills or my bronze merit badges. The main reason is you can kind of just have a look. You get your training pills. You're gonna need your weapon forge stuff. To be honest, I mean, you can get a couple of these things here if you really need them. Honestly, I kind of regret getting the epic ones. I don't need them anymore now that we've got a full set. Beast pills, yeah, pretty much we're just gonna go with the rest into beast pills because yeah, that to me is probably very best value. I'm gonna save the silver pills anyway, just because we don't need to spend it. All right. So make sure you are spending your currency. Do not get stuck with currency left over. You will not be able to use it after the event finishes, and you will be in a world of regret. Quite literally, you'll be like, why did I not spend? So there we go. We managed to get ourselves up to 2217. So second place for now. We may need to spend a little bit more later on, but we'll see. We'll see. Honestly, this is a good situation to be in. The top five is absolutely okay. Top three is ideal, and really you're only chasing the ranking rewards. So you kind of want to get within the top three if you can manage it, but the reality is this is where the fun really begins. Even when you get it within top 10, you get a guaranteed Thunder Fire Feather Shard, which is very, very important. That pretty much gives you the gateway straight into Gen 6. No, Gen 5. I apologize. You get Gen 5 wings with this, or G5 wings. And of course, you get some selection chests as well. So you can use the gold merits or you can use the feathers if you need to advance. If you manage to get within the top 5 of the server bracket, that means you do have access to additional feathers, which is fantastic. And of course, you get some additional shards as well. There's not really too much of an incentive here. It's just simply an additional bonus. But the real reason that you do this event is purely for the gold merits. You only do it for the gold merits, and the only reason you do it for the gold merits is so that you can advance your account. Because this is really the cream of the crop in terms of selection. It allows you to have a little bit more flexibility. And of course, that means that in the end, you can make some better decisions early game. Now, of course, if you are looking to spend, you will be able to look at the VIP surcharges and all this other stuff. Like I probably should always preference in any video, I never recommend spending any money on a game at all, nor do I endorse it. If you are going to spend, make sure you have a budget, make sure you pick the best possible outcomes. And of course, that means sometimes listening to this crazy Aussie guy who's probably telling you the truth when he says, focus on spending on God's blessing packages, best deals. Outside of that, everything else is pretty much a money trap. Now, the game will always offer you this blind box option up here. I'm not going to click on it. You can go through that service provider that they give. Now, they do give you some additional bonuses, but to be fair, the boxes are pretty shitty anyway. The exchange rate, you'll need to figure that out yourself because it's in USD. So it pretty much works out to be better for us to buy it through Google Play if you're on Google or Android. I don't know if Android has an additional perk, but Google Play has Google Play points. So I use those for other games that I play because they're accessible through that. So there are a couple of ways around it if you are looking to spend. My advice is to check out what compatibility you have with the blind box because you'll need to go through GT Arcade, which is of course the owner of Yazoo Gaming. And of course that means that you'll need to set up an account that way. I feel like most players have probably set up an account to get the blind box. So you'll need to figure that out yourselves, be an adult. But if you do have any questions, you can ask me in the Discord in the link in the description box below. Maybe we can guide you through some of the process. But ultimately speaking, what we need to do now is we need to build some characters. And of course, that means one thing and one thing only. We are going to get ourselves Zhuge Gao out. Welcome to the team, waifu number one. So, Zhuge Gao. Very, very interesting. So how am I going to run this? How am I going to run this? Am I going to take away Liu Bei or Zhuge Liang? I almost feel like Zhuge Liang doesn't do anything for this team. And I know he does have support function. he certainly has some interesting things here. I mean, he does do rage reduction, AoE abilities. He absorbs 2 rage, 50% chance to remove or debuff himself. But honestly, he doesn't hit very much. His consistency, in my opinion, is kind of low at this star level. And that's because, like I said, I mean, early game, if you want to focus on legendary heroes, you're probably going to do yourself a mischief. You can rank them up in your own time, and they are going to be available eventually. They're going to be available for free. So keep that in mind. You will be able to get lots of these heroes for free just by doing rebates and, of course, wishing shop and side quests. So before you, sink too much money into it, I probably wouldn't recommend doing so. I probably would recommend thinking about that one. We'll throw you over there because we can. Actually, no, we need you. I need you. Sorry. I need you. Come back. Come back. Let me think about what I need to do, though. What I need to do is reset you. That's what I was thinking about. So I need to go ahead and reset you. And then once we've done that, we can do some pulls as well a little bit later. But hopefully we manage to get to 400 million, which will be nice. Now that I've reset you, hopefully there's this quick upgrade function. If I remember correctly, there should be. Yes, alright. It's still going to take us a long time. Sadly, there's no way to just go level all. I think they need to introduce that into the game. So at this stage, do you have any questions? I know the majority of my viewers probably aren't in the whale classification, but for light spending perspectives, if you are thinking of it from what you should focus on, I mean, dollar packages probably are going to be your best buys. And a lot of the time, I'm not going to spend on events. That's the reality. Is I even on the other accounts that I play, I really only just buy the dollar packages because everything else is it's just marginal increases. And a lot of time you'll realize that most players end game, you're not competing against multitudes of whales. You're really only going to be competing against a handful of people, and then occasionally some free to play players will come along and destroy all of your works and snag the top one. And that's fine. They should absolutely do so. That is their right. They've been saving up for so long. But the reality is, you don't need to spend a great deal of money on this game in order to have a good time. You can pretty much just taper it off. Once you get to a certain level of happiness, would be, I guess, the word. But that's kind of a bit vague, isn't it? It's not really happiness, is it? If you get to a comfortable, when you get to a comfortable power level, when you are not getting dominated in siege, when you're pretty much, enjoying the process, because this game is a freaking grind fest. You'll notice when you get that level cap, when you're pushing story mode, when you're trying to do all this stuff, there is certainly some elements of this game that are a pain in the ass, particularly beast realms. I mean, Mythic's made this a heck of a lot easier compared to the other ones. But even as you progress and you push there, you're going to notice that you'll need to continually progress and upgrade your accounts to clear the areas. Glory Hall is another painful experience, particularly if you are low power level. So there are some things for you to progress towards, but you don't need to, you don't need to go do old mate Ying out here and wail out to the point where you really don't have any. There's no challenge. When you get to that stage, it kind of just becomes boring, and you'll notice that a lot of the Megalodons quit the game, sell their accounts, or give away their accounts. So we've had that happen on many of our servers that I played across, and it is very sad because I mean, there's no point. If you're going to spend money, do it at arms race, enjoy the process. For the rest of the events, probably not the greatest of value. I'm not going to lie. There's really not too much other value outside of arms race, in my opinion. Uh, just save the currency, spend your gold, wait for the right opportunities, and you'll have a lot more time and a lot more fun to enjoy the game instead of worrying about a freaking leaderboard. Because that's the next level of stress. The stress that no other whale talks about is always trying to be first. And of course, the game and the development team prey upon that because, human nature, right? Enjoy the game. Don't worry about it so much. And of course, build for a lasting team. Now, Zuzgao, he is, or she is, I should say. Um, I think I have the right affinity on you. I'm going to hope that I have the right affinity. Information, growth, affinity. So I need to equip you and I need to equip you, but I've already deployed you. Oh, that's right, because I need to get you in there. All right. So once I get a U in there, you'll be fine. I've got you, which is perfect. And of course, you can take Vermilion gear set. Everything's working out quite nicely. So what we need to do is make sure we throw the co-op in. And that gives us some more affinity. So we get to the 400. Very nice. And then I'm going to upgrade some of you. I mean, we managed to get to 400. That's cool. I don't know how I'm going to run her because she hits 3 targets, if I remember correctly. But her ultimate, I think, is an AoE, so that should be okay. We might run you in slot 3. We might run you slot 3. We'll see. Keep you getting nice and tanky. Come on, come on. Can I get you up? No. That's as high as we get. That's as high as we get. Alright, so we managed to get a decent power up that way. Is there anything else that we can do? Not yet. Not yet. I don't think there's anything else that we can do in terms of powering up. Let me think about this. Let me think about this. I don't think so. I think we're good. I think we're good. But we do have a rebate event on, so we should do that too. Why not? This is another thing that's going to pop up a lot. So if you do save your currency instead of using that currency, it is going to help you out in the end. So as you can see, you need 70, 80. You need 80 of these tokens. Thankfully, for us, for our spenders out there, there's a little mini event for you to get tokens as well. Would I recommend spending $154 for the sword? No. Nah, I wouldn't spend any money to get the sword, to be completely honest, because there's so many ways to get that now. If it was a selection chest with Zaya's Charm, I still would tell you the same thing. The reason being is I bought my sword, so I managed to get this guy. He's already at 1 star, so I've already got his sword at 1 star. I just went through arms race because at the end of the day, that's really what's going to set the account apart early game, getting these mythic weapons. You can get them from this selection chest. You can get them from Annihilation event when it pops up next time, and you can get it from Celebrate Festival. So I really wouldn't recommend spending any money on that if you are thinking about it. But of course, there is some value. There is some limited amount of value, I should say, in getting these selection chests for the legendaries. But there's really not enough tokens. What, 25 tokens? 10, 15? How many days is this? Another day? I think we got the best one was like 10 of these for 5 for $1. I mean, really, the dollar packs, like I said, dollar packs are kind of where it is. Whenever you have a look at value, I mean, $1 a day is $1 a day, right? They're the best value in this game. Don't get it twisted. You don't need to pursue stuff. I mean, when these VIP recharges do come out, they are quite nice to go for, particularly if they have mythic gear and you have the budget for it. But outside of that, I mean, you don't need to push. You don't need to push. This is just additional rewards. And of course, it's not going to make or break your account. Let's be honest, none of these things will ever really give you the massive edge, except for the G4 mythic beast gear. That will give you the edge, I won't lie, but that's very expensive. So it's probably not worth it for the majority of miniature whales. Anyway, let's go ahead, do the spins. Let's see if we can get... Okay, so we did manage to get that 1% drop. Very nice. We'll just keep doing this one because it really doesn't matter at this stage. We'll just keep doing that one. Doing the draws. Maybe we get a couple of solo pools, get lucky. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's it. Done. Beautiful. 5 short. We'll be able to get that tomorrow. And of course, that means we can grab a couple of these ones out. And I think Marchow, if I'm not mistaken, has this on him. So we might be able to get you to 1 star tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow we'll be able to get you to 1 star. Perfect. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell in terms of PB's arms race guide. If you are curious about spending on outfits, go ahead. They're absolutely worthwhile the investment, mainly for the 7% bonus. And of course, the legendary bonus gives 5%. You do not need to have the corresponding hero to equip it. It just goes into an index, so don't worry about that. A lot of players will probably figure this out in the end, but transformation event is probably the better one to get that. Do not touch this. Do not touch this. This is a no no. This is the no no square right here. Don't waste your gold merits on that one. If you do have some spare ones, I recommend grabbing some of your outfits if you want to do so. But mainly, I think majority of early game whale players are going to focus on this one. Everyone's going to get the weapons and everyone's going to get the shards, and they're pretty much just going to call it a day. All right, well, hopefully you found that semi-informative. Cross-server event is going to be live in 16 hours and 14 minutes for those that are on the Asian server bracket. Hopefully we see you all there. Hopefully the rewards turn out to be okay. And if you found this semi-informative for those out there, or if you have any other questions, hit us up on Facebook in the comment section down below, or in the link in the description box for the Discord. Everyone is welcome. And I'll catch you all in the next one.